Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Many of our followers are in the process of trying to conceive, and in order for conception, a sperm must fertilize the egg. And however, women have finite number of eggs, which means that a good egg quality is of the utmost importance. One of the best way to support good egg quality is through proper nutrition and supplementation. And this is why we're really excited today to be joined by Dr. Camille Krause, a naturopath doctor at Conceive Health. Dr. Krause is going to give us some tips about supplements for diet quality. So, oh, here you are. Hi,
Hello.
Dr. Krause. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
This is such an important topic people ask so often. So I'm so glad we're having this chat.
Perfect. Well, it's something I talk about every single day, so I'm happy to share it with a broader audience.
So tell us a little bit about your background and then like how you became a naturopath doctor.
Yeah, so I've been a naturopathic doctor now for 8 years, practicing in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, for international listeners. And I've been specializing in fertility for about the past three. And I actually work out of a conventional fertility clinic here in Waterloo, which is really unique in Canada to have a naturopath and a
Mm.
conventional doctor kind of working in tandem. And patients love it, they want it, they ask for it, and they love that we're integrated. So that's a little bit about where I'm working. And I became a naturopathic doctor because I had my own health challenges. I think most of us in this profession go in looking for some answers, and that's exactly what I did. I had some serious gut health issues, and then later on I went through burnout and, came out the other side with the help of naturopathic medicine.
Wow, that's incredible. So what's the difference between naturopathic doctor and a conventional medical doctor, and how do you actually work with them? Because I think
Yeah.
many naturopathic doctors just work independently, but you are actually, this is your clinic, it's really special. So what's the difference and how do you work with them?
Yeah. Well, let me answer that with an example actually, because if say somebody, and maybe someone who's listening has felt this way, but say you're feeling tired and run down, and you go to your doctor and you say, I just don't feel great, right? So your doctor runs some tests and nothing comes back that explains how you're feeling in a medical definition, right? They have these definitions that mean you have a medical condition. So if you don't fit any of those, then it means you're fine, which is great. We know you're not dying of anything, but you still don't feel great. And so, a naturopathic doctor, then I'm going to run certain tests and I'm going to see, your iron is scraping the bottom of the barrel, your fasting insulin is way too high, leaving you lethargic and foggy brained and battling your cravings. Your vitamin D is so low that on gray days, you're going to be, wanting to crawl into bed and stay there. And so we're going to optimize all of those things and you're going to feel like a new person. So that's kind of going to be one of the biggest differences. We're going to address it with your lifestyle, your diet, and our cost-effective supplements in some of those examples. And I just have more tools in my toolbox then, right? I didn't diagnose that patient with anything. I just have ways to then treat suboptimal. In our clinic, what we're doing is we are able to share charts once patients are both of our patients. And it means I can see all of the testing and workup that they've done, and they can see mine. And I'm also then just going through and looking for optimal and looking for things that, again, don't fit into a tidy medical definition, but that could be optimized for fertility.
Wow, amazing. I wish every clinic is like your clinic.
Yeah, I think so.
So then how can like a naturopathic doctor support someone's fertility journey besides the stuff you talk about? If it's optimal, you kind of like trying to optimize.
Mhm.
But what about the specifics for fertility?
Yeah, so I'm taking another look at their testing, like I said. I'm usually running a few more tests like vitamin D and fasting insulin, which our conventional side doesn't always run or look at. Um, Thyroid antibodies, which our clinic runs, but other clinics here don't. And then we're going into depth into their actual health history, right? So we have the luxury of time with our patients, which means that I can ask in depth about things like their habits, their exercise, their sleep, their stress, that we can then figure out if that is playing a deeper role. So an example would be if a patient is having trouble sleeping, now I'm analyzing that within the context of what the research says, because the research says that around the 5 hour mark or less for males and females, that it is then going to impact their hormones and their fertility. Above that, maybe it's still not great and maybe we can still help them out, but maybe that's not the thing that's holding them back from their fertility. So I'm analyzing it in the context of what their research says.
Wow, that's incredible. Now back to the air quality, since that's like our topic today. Like, why is air quality so important for conception?
Yeah. So anyone who has gone through IVF knows that you can put an egg and a sperm together and they don't always turn into a viable embryo, let alone a baby. And so when we put that egg and sperm together, so many things have to happen, including, the DNA of the egg and the DNA of the sperm have to recombine and then divide and replicate so many times to turn into that embryo. And there can be random errors along that path that we can't control, but we can control, the good ingredients going into that recipe. And so things like DNA fragmentation in sperm, we're now starting to see the research more conclusively say that it can be playing a role in our IVF outcomes and even in losses, in miscarriages. And so what we now need to see is the next step of more research showing how we can impact it. There are some whispers in my field, we know that vitamin D is going to play a role, for example, but we need better research to make that A to B to C connection. So we need good ingredients to put together to make viable embryos that can then turn into our babies.
So are there things that can actually hurt a person's egg quality?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you asked. And I think actually everything your company is testing for is also going to fall under
Right.
that category. And so even for BPA and phthalates and the things that you test, there we do have some A to B to C research showing that it can negatively impact IVF outcomes and live births, which is our main indicator, right? And so when we talk about what hurts egg quality, I'm picturing this big teeter-totter. There's things that are going to hurt egg quality and there's things that are going to help egg quality, which I'm sure you're going to ask.
Yes, absolutely.
And so the things that hurt our egg quality, there's a huge list, but we count our environmental exposures, so our hormone disrupting chemicals, alcohol, smoking, marijuana. Those are the big ones. I would say that most of my patients already come in knowing, right? They've already stopped some of those. But then we get into some of the nittier, grittier ones where we're thinking about, sedentary lifestyle, poor sleep, poor nutrient intake, oxidative stress, high insulin, meaning poor management of carbohydrate. And those things are kind of more subtle, but they also kind of have that ding against our egg quality.
And then these are the aspects you could really help your patient to improve. It's these especially these nitty gritty stuff.
Exactly. Where my goal is to focus on the things that are within our control, because in fertility there is so much that's outside of our control.
Absolutely. So what are some now talking about nutrients and then food and diet, because they all tied to, insulin and other gut health and all these. So what are some essential nutrients that our bodies needs for egg quality?
Yeah, so we need to start with kind of the macro where we need the healthy fats, like our omega-3 fish oils. There's actually a fair amount of research on our omega-3s for fertility in general, and then egg quality as a kind of a piece of that. And then our kind of good carbohydrates, meaning lots of fiber, fruits and vegetables, and then our protein. So can be overlooked, but I'm often encouraging my patients to get more protein, especially at breakfast, because it's going to balance their blood sugar. So for anyone watching, 20 to 30 grams of protein at breakfast, I've seen make a massive change in just how that person feels, let alone, their other health and hormones that follow. And then we go down into our vitamins and minerals. So there's certain ones that are more researched than others. I don't like to pick on them because I just want people to get a well-rounded amount of everything. But we're talking about selenium, magnesium, zinc as being kind of our most researched ones for males and females. And then when we get into those are our minerals, then we get into our vitamins where things like vitamin C and then our active folate and B12, those two, folate and B12, not folic acid. Our body has to turn folic acid into folate, the active form, and some 40 to 60% of us genetically just don't make that conversion very well. So we could be taking folic acid, but we need to convert it. So why don't we put people on the active form? And that there was a study in 2021 basically saying that patients going through IVF, so they already had proven infertility concerns. They were going through IVF, and patients who were on active folate, B12, and some B6 had higher birth rates. And again, not just more embryos created, but more babies born, which is the outcome that obviously matters the most here.
Yeah, these are also like super potent antioxidants too.
Exactly. Yeah, they serve so many functions from, hormone management to antioxidant functions. There's so many reasons why they're important and also hard to study in some contexts, but we know enough to know that we can use them.
Yeah, and you had a great post a while back about supplements for egg quality, which we shared in our story. And so I'm going to ask some of the lesser known, the more well-known one you just mentioned. What about like CoQ10? Because that's something that our users have also been asked to take CoQ10, but not a lot of people actually are aware, like, what is CoQ10? What does it do? Why is it important?
Right. So CoQ10 is an interesting one. If you were to Google supplements for egg quality, I would expect, I should probably do it, but I would expect CoQ10 to be at the top of that list. It's probably the most well-known and studied in terms of supplements specifically for egg or sperm quality. Basically, it's normally found, like we can eat it from our food, but the highest sources are in animal organ meat, which culturally we don't eat a ton of in North America. And so there's some in like our beans and vegetables, but it's a tiny amount. So I did some of the math on this because I found it really interesting. The study found CoQ10 for egg quality want us taking somewhere between 400 and 800 milligrams of CoQ10. And you would have to eat 8 to 16 pounds of animal heart, chicken or beef usually, per day to get dosing. So that's why we're glad that supplement forms exist. And the heart was the highest forms. Like you're going to get a minuscule amount of beans. I didn't even calculate how many beans you'd have to eat to get, the therapeutic dose in the research.
Yeah.
So basically when we get it out of a capsule, then it's derived from like a bacterial fermentation process. It's not derived from organ meat. It's derived
Mhm.
in like kind of a lab synthesis process, which is a little more palatable, I think, for people. So that's how we get it into a capsule. Basically, CoQ10 helps our mitochondria work better. So when we're talking about egg quality, one component of that is the mitochondria. The mitochondria are grade 8 biology, the powerhouse of the cell, and they fund all of the energy that that egg and that sperm need to then divide and turn into an embryo. And so that's kind of what CoQ10 is trying to do in terms of fertility, but it's also been researched in just energy in general
Mhm.
for patients. So I see it as a win-win. You know,
A
if we're
win-win.
going to give you something that's going to leave you feeling good and help your fertility, that's great.
You also mentioned other, I mean, you gave a whole list of supplements. So is there a
Yeah.
theme that's for that list of supplement you posted?
Yeah, there's so many that you're going to find for quality, and part of my job is to try to narrow down that list for the patient, right? Like, what of those things should you actually be taking, and in what dose? And the theme of the list is basically, and you said it actually, it's antioxidants. So we're trying to now compensate for all of the oxidative stress that is caused by the things that harm egg quality that we mentioned before, right? The part of the reason why smoking negatively impacts egg quality is the oxidative stress that is created. So now if we go back to like our teeter totter, then we're trying to take the bad things out, put the good things in, and find some sort of equilibrium equation
Mhm.
that means we're improving egg quality.
Right. Someone just asked, is there a vegan CoQ10 supplement?
So it does come from bacterial fermentation when they make it in a lab. So I don't know whether you would consider that to be vegan friendly
Mm,
or not.
right. You
Yeah.
also added like some digestive enzyme to the list. Like, why are they important?
Yeah. So I come from a digestion background, right? Both my personal story and what I used to
Mhm.
treat a lot clinically. And so there's a few ways that it then comes into the fertility conversation. One is when we're talking about all of these good nutrients, I want you to be getting them from your diet,
Mhm.
but we need you to actually absorb these nutrients properly. So if I'm testing your iron or your B12, for example, and you are eating those nutrients, but your numbers are still really, really low,
Mhm.
then we're basically going, where is this mismatch coming from? And
Mhm.
you're maybe not absorbing those nutrients. And so um, that's where I the short-term game plan is let's get those nutrient levels up, but the long-term game plan is let's improve your absorption of those from your actual diet. Then we also need to know for fertility that about 90% of our immune system is housed in the gut. So
Mhm.
when we have an autoimmune condition like Hashimoto's thyroiditis that plays a role in fertility, what's going on with that imbalance in the immune system that it
Mhm.
is attacking ourselves, autoimmune. And so we like to go back to the gut and say what can we fix
Mhm.
there to calm down that fire of the immune system, because for implantation to happen we need the immune system to
Right.
kind of be on board.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Now you just mentioned about food and diet. Now what is the egg quality diet look like?
Yeah, good question. So I basically send all my patients home with a big handout that goes through all the kind of macronutrients and everything we should be looking for. Honestly, it's probably what you would expect. I think we all know that we should be eating more fruits and vegetables and things. So what we're looking for is 6 to 10 servings of fruits and veggies per day. Average American intake is, I think, 3 servings. So
Yeah, three.
it's higher. We need more. So fruits and vegetables, we want fish, meat, eggs, nuts and seeds. And then our good quality dairy is in there too. Like we're not technically excluding food groups for the average person, right? We might have some refinement depending on the patient, but I'd say overall, our egg quality diet is real food.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also going to encourage my patients to cook more at home because then we can control
Absolutely.
the ingredients. We don't know whether the restaurant is using rancid canola oil that's been in the heat of the
Mm-hmm.
kitchen versus you can use, your good quality olive oil to drizzle over your salad at home. So we can control the ingredients and we can also control the cooking technique. So it means that all of our kitchen implements, they're not plastic. And then
Absolutely.
we're not, right. And then we're not ordering takeout where we're putting hot food into these plastic containers to take home. So cooking at home is actually one way to improve the quality of our food. And then I always want to give this caveat that just because I'm saying cook from home doesn't mean you have to be cooking these elaborate whatevers from scratch. We can still be using some frozen food
Mhm.
and BPA-free canned food and things that are still going to be just as healthy. Frozen is just as healthy as fresh, but that are more accessible for the average person.
Totally on the same page. That's also exact the recommendation we would give to our users,
Yeah.
cooking more at home so you have more control over your cooking utensils, your pots and pans, your water
Right.
sources, and then also by
Yes.
eating more fruits and veggie and then really diverse diet, you increase your antioxidant, which actually helps you detox at the same time.
Yes.
Um,
Exactly. Oh, I love it.
so somebody just asked if you can't find
Yeah.
organic fruits and vegetables, do you still recommend to eat them?
Yeah, so I do refer patients to the environmental working groups, Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. It might not be perfect. I've been working on kind of my own version of it, but it's a place to start, right? Of where you should kind of put your most energy. If you can't find organic bananas, then that doesn't matter. We're peeling it. So
Right.
um, it matters to me from an environmental point of view because the way bananas are grown is not
Right,
great,
right.
but it from a fertility piece. So so that's where I would start, but then my list would also include dairy, coffee, chocolate, meat, and eggs that don't make it onto the fruits and vegetables list. Um, but that's a tough one to answer if you don't have access to those foods. Do you have access to growing food and to trading with other people who can? That gets complicated depending on where your region is. And I understand not everyone has access to that. So
Mhm.
then we focus on other areas of that teeter-totter.
Right. And then if you can find fresh organic stuff, so frozen organic is also one is a
Yes.
lot cheaper and another is potentially you have more access. And we
Yes.
also, when people also ask this question, we also say that if this is the area you cannot control, then trying to control other areas, so then you can kind of like optimize and supplement,
Yeah.
that way.
Perfect.
Amazing. Wow. Like, so you have like such breadth knowledge, and I love your clinic. And so,
Thank
what
you.
does a session with you look like?
Thank you so much. So my patients come to me kind of from all points of their fertility journey. Some of them are, thinking about starting to try, and some of them are on their second round of IVF. So my first job is to go in depth into their health history, like we talked about. I have that time with the patient to get to know all of their different health habits. And I'm looking through any testing that they might have had done. Maybe they've had some testing done from a doctor previously. So I'm looking through all of that. I'm then sending them usually for a little bit more testing. And once we have all of that data in front of us, we're putting together kind of the best game plan for their fertility based on what their timeline looks like. and send them on their way. And at some point, they just have to try. We want that approximate, 3-month timeline of when we implement all of these things for egg or sperm quality to then have the final impact. We're still going to see month over month improvement, but full 3 months for egg quality. And then, we reanalyze. So if they're coming back with more data, like they've been charting at home or they've been working with a fertility clinic, then we come back and we circle back, reanalyze, and go from there.
Amazing, amazing. Wow. Thank you so much for this great information and then telling us about your story, your clinic and everything. And thank you everyone for joining today.
Thank you so much for having me and for sharing me with your audience. I'm so pleased to be here.
And then everyone be sure to follow Dr. Krause at Waterloo_fertility_naturopath. And I mean, you have great content, so everyone please follow and learn.
Absolutely. I'm a big nerd and I put it all on Instagram. So thank you.
And I love you did all the calculation.
That's the fun part.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.